Hello, everyone. My guest today is Olin Hyde. He's the founder and CEO of LeadCrunch.ai, the B2B lookalike marketing platform. Olin, you ready to take us to the top?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. So why is kind of lookalike marketing so difficult to get right, and how do you help people do it better?
So B2B targeting is completely broken. It's predicated on things like industry codes, which were developed in the 19th century. Most companies fit into multiple industry codes. And those codes are not only out of date, they're not relevant to what a company does. So very fundamental things, the way companies think about marketing to each other are broken. And that's why it's been so hard for marketers to get return on investment. And
so how does this tactically get into how this actually works though? So people understand lookalike audiences. You push a button on Facebook and it just magically does it for you. How do you help marketers create lookalike audience across other channels?
We do exactly for businesses what Facebook does for consumers. You push a button and we magically create an audience.
How? What's the data source?
What, pardon me?
How do you do that? What data source are you ingesting?
Many data sources, thousands of data sources. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that we can give a quick answer and be accurate. It would be simplification to the point of distortion. What we do is we take your list of best customers and we look at about 500,000 dimensions on those companies. Are they early adopters? How many of your employees are in high communication roles? How fast are you growing? Very fundamental things. And even things like industry, we look at very differently. We look at Apple Computer and we look at to what degree are they a retailer? To what degree are they in different lines of business? So instead of giving them an industry code, we give them an array of industry codes.
So and this reminds me a lot of like Sarah from Moz, right? She buys a lot of data, 3.8 million in terms of dollars spent on data back in 2017. I'm talking about Moz. I'm curious for you. I imagine, it's very ancestral, the data space. Everyone buys everyone else's data. When you look at your total data spend last year, right? How much did you spend total on other people's data?
A lot.
Like 2-3 million?
A lot.
Okay. Is it in the millions?
Yes.
Okay. And then just some rapid fire stuff. So do you buy full contact data?
Yes.
Discover.org?
Oh, you're talking about full contact the company. We don't reveal our specific data sources.
Okay, but what I'm trying to understand here is what's proprietary to you versus what other data are you just ingesting that anyone can go pay for? So full contact, you pay for their API feed. It's a paid product they have on their website.
Nathan, we don't talk about specific data sources that we buy. We talk about 3 classes of data. We buy data, we scrape data, and we collect data that no one else has.
So isn't that the proprietary thing? Why would you not talk about data you're buying? Anyone can buy it. I understand if I'm talking about something proprietary, but I'm not. That's not the question.
Why would I give my competitors any help whatsoever?
Well, aren't they your competitor? Isn't that exactly who you're competing with? All of you compete with each other.
We run campaigns. So what we do is we generate a lookalike audience, and then we engage each prospect in that lookalike audience with display ads, content marketing, telemarketing, whatever it takes to get that prospect on the buyer's journey so that our customers are dealing with marketing qualified or sales qualified leads.
Yep.
And we're all about conversion. We're not all about selling data.
Got it. Okay, so when you came back on in 2017, it was July 2017, so about 2 years ago. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That's great.
Well, so I'm going to rock your world here in a second. So you had told me at that point you had about 55 customers. What do you got today?
Over 400.
That's amazing. Okay, so I want to dive into that in a second. And then you mentioned at that point you were trying to move up market. So the best way to quantify this is back then you said your ARPU monthly was about $3,600 a month. What's the average? I was going to say,
we were doing $3,600 back in
a month, not annually, a month.
Okay, it's gone up a little bit. We do that in an hour.
Yeah. Well, this is part of my question for you, right? Do you consider yourself a pure play SaaS platform, or is it more pay as you go?
That's an awesome question. We are not a SaaS company. Mm-hmm. In fact, we grew our first 2.5 years, we grew revenues by 20% per month, every month, because we were not SaaS. So what we believe is SaaS works phenomenal for certain business models, but we're not in the business of selling data. We're in the business of cultivating relationships. And some relationships are worth a lot more than others. And so what we do is we sell our services on a campaign basis. So it's a cost per lead basis. And a lead can cost as little as say $40, and some leads cost in the hundreds of dollars.
But Owen, I mean, part of this product, right, are teams buying it to power their SDR teams that are in charge of scheduling demos with their AEs. If you become a critical part of that stack, even though you don't call yourself a SaaS platform, you should see payment behavior that stacks and is very, very predictable, right? Which is basically what SaaS is. So my question to you is your churn all over the place? It's very seasonal. People are not actually addicted to you.
Well, actually, that's a great point. And I love the way you framed it, because in that regard, we look at our business as a retention business. And so we look at retention in two dimensions. Net retention, which is take our trailing 3 months as the numerator, and then 4 to 6 months as the denominator. And the numerator for our net retention, we say, okay, how much of those original customers came back? And we include the upsells and the cancellations, and that's net retention. And that could be infinitely large. And we also look at gross retention, where we only look at the cancellations, and that would be a maximum of 100%. So that's the way we look at our business.
So what is, that's an interesting way to measure those metrics. What is your gross? You're talking like 20, 30% gross churn?
We don't reveal that. We're not raising money right now. By the
way, I don't care if you're raising capital. Fuck that. Who cares about capital? I care about bootstrap CEOs building great companies. Churn is very difficult to build a meaningful company on top of. I don't care if you're raising or not raising.
Yeah, we're always looking to optimize our churn. Our churn is very healthy compared to pure SaaS play companies. We don't reveal those specific numbers.
Okay, but I'm not going to let you get away with just mentioning hyperbole. When you say very healthy compared to other SaaS companies, I don't buy it, because other SaaS companies, their gross annual revenue churn is going to be sub 5%. You are very seasonal and you're not place SaaS. I don't believe that your gross churn is less than 5% annually.
You don't have to believe it.
Okay, well, if you've gone it under 5%, though, we can learn how you did that, right? So I want to learn from you if you've actually done that. I just don't think you have.
Then I don't know how to respond to that.
Basically, what you told me is your churn is anywhere from 100% to basically give me the full range of any potential thing of anybody. So I don't understand. How can you say that when you tell me that you feel like your gross churn is best in class, even compared to SaaS companies, when you just told me you are a campaign-driven approach, that doesn't make any sense to me. Campaigns are by nature one-off. Now, they can recur over time based off the seasons, but they're by nature one-off.
No, they're not by nature one-off. Marketing executives look at campaigns as their lifeblood. They have to deliver leads to sales. Just like you don't go to the gas station as a one-off thing. If you have a gasoline-powered car, you're going to go every time the tank runs low. And that's the same with our business. There is seasonality to it. Certainly August is one of the slower months of the year, and November is one of the busiest months of the year. And we've seen that consistently over time. But if we look at our trailing 6 months, which is what we do, is trailing 3, trailing 6, trailing 12, we have a steady improvement, and that improvement in what you're calling churn, we would call, we look at it as a positive in terms of net retention. It really correlates to a couple things.
But I don't understand what that means when you say net retention. I mean, so you tell me where my definition is different than your definition. Mm-hmm. When I look at the SaaS space, and I basically would say, okay, look at the cohort of customers you signed up exactly 1 year ago, right? Of those, let's say that revenue across those 100 customers signed up a year ago, that month is equal to $100,000 per year. Today, when they're all renewing, some portion will churn, let's say 5%, so $5,000 of revenue churn, but others will expand by like $30,000. So you have 30% expansion, 5% churn, net revenue retention would be 125% then.
Sure.
How does your definition differ?
Great framing of the question. So when we did our Series B, and we announced that I think in April, we closed it in March, our net revenue expansion was 18% per quarter, per cohort of customers. So on a trailing 3 basis, call it 118%. Best in class SaaS would be about 130% per year. So, we believe our business is fundamentally a quarter by quarter business, because that's the way our customers think about it. And we also think of our net retention as optimized at about 130% over the course of the year. We were doing a little bit better than that. However, that was also a boom time month. So I think that, I will tell you this, is we dropped a little bit on that.
Yeah. Well, but by the way, drops are not necessarily a bad thing. It could just mean it's a different position market. I'm not trying to point out weaknesses. I just want to understand how you're instrumenting your company.
Yeah, the way we instrument the company is when we first spoke, which it seems like it was yesterday.
2 years ago.
Crazy. We were intentionally really wide aperture, basically selling to whoever would buy. And as we've matured and we've crossed through the 20 million run mark, we actually started.
What month was that? Last month?
That was in June. So we hit profitability in June.
That's great.
And don't want to be profitable. We'd like to accelerate our growth. But we started to narrow that aperture down and really focus on ideal customer profile. And it's funny, one of the things I've learned that I think your audience would be interesting is, everyone talks about product market fit, and here we are. I feel like we still are discovering it. In a market this big, it's really easy to fool yourself and look at the growth numbers and not see the major problems underneath the growth numbers. And one of the things that I've learned is that ideal customer profile changes dramatically as we went up market.
Yeah.
When we first went to market, we were selling leads for $2 a piece. We now regularly sell leads for $200 a piece. And guess what? They're different buyers, they're different selling cycles, it's a different product. We now have to have an interface with our customers so that the technology tracks those leads as they go through. And that's suddenly a much different product market space than where we started in. And I think that's something that we learned a lot about since we last spoke.
And so let's quantify these learnings into, again, metrics. You just passed 20 in terms of run rate in June. Where were you exactly a year ago? Do you remember?
Gosh, okay. So the first quarter we were in business, we did 150,000. In 2017, we did a total of 2 million in revenue.
Yep.
In 2018, we did a total of 8.4 million of revenue.
Yep.
And this year, we would be happy if we got to 17 million. So another double.
Yeah. When you say that you passed, I thought you just said you passed a 20 million run rate, but then you said
right. We had some. So there's, like you said earlier, there's some dips. It's not the same every month. So if you take those rolling 3 months, we've got some dips in there that we'll finish the year probably. Like I said, 17 is our low end estimate. For the year.
But I just want to understand what you meant by that. So what number are you multiplying when you say you just passed a 20 million run rate in June?
The single month multiplied by 12.
I see. Okay. So you did 1.6 million that month multiplied by 12 is 20 million.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Got it. Interesting. Okay. Very good. So that would mean, look, this is obviously averages, which are dangerous, especially in your kind of business, but 400 customers, right? Doing call it 17 to 20 million run rate. That means they're paying on average per month, somewhere between kind of $4,000 and $5,000 a pop. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Which is about
the order sizes, are typically 15 grand. So it's about a 3-month order. It takes us, I think, something like 3.6 months to recognize the revenue, under the ASC revenue recognition regulation. It's about 3.6 months.
And you mentioned you raised additional capital. How much in the company to date?
We've raised about 18.5
total. And okay, so when was the last round?
Last round was led by Bow Capital with Rally Ventures following. We closed it in the beginning of March.
And how much was that one for?
That was for 11.5 million.
So you mentioned you're profitable now, but you just took all this dilution and raised capital. Why would you not be spending it and burning?
Well, first off, we want to spend it in the right places, and we saw some hiccups in the economy coming. We wanted to be conservative with our cash. We've seen from our SaaS competitors such as Radius and 6 Sense and Everstring that they were spending a lot of money to do customer acquisition. And we really wanted to pull back our spending on growth to ensure better product market fit. And that was controversial. It's something that I really felt strongly about is just that if we do go through a downturn in our economy, those with cash will win.
So, Olin, just to be clear, that 11 point, you said you're profitable now. That 11.5 you raised just 4 months ago, that's basically all still sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
So I guess your rationale, and it's not good or bad, it just is your rationale, is you're saying, okay, to hedge any kind of downturns in the economy, it's worth taking the dilution back in March just to have this cash on our balance sheet for whatever we need to use it for in the future.
Right.
I see. Okay, fair enough. What's the team size today? How many people?
About 72.
And how many engineers?
We look at it a little differently. We have a data science team, a product team, a design team, and an engineering team. And there's engineers on all 4 of those teams. Okay. So the pure engineering team is only about 11 people.
But how many engineers in the organization?
About half of our company.
Oh, okay, 35. That's good. And how many quota-carrying sales folks?
5.
Okay, interesting. How did you determine what, you hire your first salesperson, you got to set some quota target. How do you decide what the first quota target is?
Wow. That's going back really in ancient history. And I'd have to remember, I think what we did was we were pivoting. We had a really bad business model before we found this opportunity. And we basically took that number, doubled it, and said, can you do that in a year? And he did that in the first quarter. So I don't think we had a particularly good skill at quota setting back then. Now it's gotten a lot more sophisticated. So we are very disciplined around what we call an operating plan, which is a full P&L broken out by department on a month-by-month basis for the entire year. And so bookings, which is when we sign a contract, is what the quotas are based on. And we're very sensitive to that. We want our bookings to be within 5% of plan either way on a month-to-month basis. And the way we do that now is we assign accounts. We have a model that determines how much that account is spending on marketing. And then we decide, okay, what is our likely share of wallet at the beginning of the year and at 12 months later. And that's how we set our quotas now.
And so what is that? A new salesperson, fully ramped, not a new hire, but a fully ramped salesperson. What is their quota monthly?
Typical, we quote our guys a little bit higher. So typically a fully ramped brand new salesperson, we expect them to produce at least $2 million a year in bookings.
Okay, got it. So they're closing at least $160,000 in new monthly recurring revenue every month.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, very good. All right, and 5 people obviously carrying that quota. You're profitable today. So, I mean, are you just going to sit on the 11.5 basically, or do you have any plans to ramp burn here shortly?
Oh, we want to ramp burn as fast as we can find the right places to burn it. So we'd like to expand our team. Hiring salespeople is very difficult. We're in Southern California, which is not known for building great sales teams. So our sales team is actually spread all over the country right now. I would use this as an opportunity is we're very selective in who we hire. It takes about 950 resumes for us to get to a hire. And that $11 million we're sitting on is going to be spent on expanding our sales team, expanding our marketing, and taking more product to market. Yep. And we're ramping up that spending now, but it's going to be judicious. It's not going to be spent on bars and free lunches for employees.
Today, for these new accounts, the $15,000 kind of for a 3-month thing, or let's just put it in an annual contract. Let's say to get a $50,000 annual contract today, what are you spending on the fully weighted CAC?
Oh, that's a good question. We get payback. Our CAC, our payback is it's about $5,000, maybe a little bit less, maybe about $4,500. Our payback is within the first campaign.
Yeah. I mean, if your average customer paying between $4,000 and $5,000. So if you're only spending $4,500 to get them, you have basically an instant payback period, first month payback period.
On a revenue basis, but we look at it as a gross margin basis.
I assume though you're up in the 80. Are you in the 80% range gross margin?
We're a little bit lower than that. We're in the 70s, low 70s.
Okay, still high. And that's probably because you put a little touch on the lead scoring and the data you're getting.
Yeah. So like we actually do lead scoring for free. We think that's just part of what we do. We really want to be the trusted partner, and that means that we have a very large customer success team. We have a customer success team of 20 people.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we're out of time. Let's wrap up with the famous 5. Quick answers here if you can. Number 1, favorite business book.
This one. Connecting the Dots by John Chambers. I just had dinner with him. Brilliant guy. It's easy to see how he took Cisco from 70 million to 47 billion. Brilliant guy.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying besides John?
A lot. My favorites are, of course, Bezos and Musk, just for his style. But I also have a lot of other favorites. Probably let's just go with Bezos as the best.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company besides your own?
You know what? I like some of my competitors a lot. Not really direct competitors, but I like Terminus. I think they're doing some really good stuff. I really like TechTarget. They are a direct competitor.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep you get every night?
Full 8.
That's good. And what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
I'm married and we've adopted 4 kids. So
wow.
We have a big house.
4 kiddos. Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 54.
Last question, Olin. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Take bigger risks earlier. I think I started my first company when I was 25, and there's absolutely no reason why I should have finished college. I could have started my first business then. And I think that the 20-year-old me was too focused on becoming a Marine.
Guys, there you have it. 400 customers paying between $4,000 and $5,000 per month. They did $8.4 million in 2018 revenue, on target in 2020 to break the 17 million mark on the low end. They've raised $18.5 million to do it, $11.5 million, basically their whole last round, still sitting in the bank as they figure out what to go burn that capital on to drive growth. 72 folks on the team, 35 engineers, 5 quota-carrying sales reps, net revenue retention at about 130%. They've got a payback period of probably between kind of 2 and 3-ish, 4 months on these accounts coming in, paying $4 or $5 grand per month. Olin, thanks for taking us to the top.
You rock, man. Thanks so much, Nathan.